research article. Therefore, the reproducibility of your results. I will teach you how to create and publish your own protocols, how to use existing protocols as templates to create your own optimizations, and how to cite any of these public protocols in your research papers. At the end of my presentation, I will also point you to other webinars where you can learn more about protocols.io if you are interested. Let's begin with the basics of protocols.io. Protocols.io is, on one hand, a virtual platform for the collaborative development of detailed research protocols, and on the other hand, an open access repository for the publication of these detailed, dynamic, interactive, and versionable research protocols before, during, and after publication of a research article. Generally speaking, protocols.io comes in two flavors. The open access repository is completely free to use. It is free to create an account, and it is free to publish an unlimited number of protocols. Each of these protocols will receive a unique digital object identifier, or DOI, once they are published, making them permanent and citable. Because the repository is open access, it is equally free to come and read, use, and reuse the public protocols. However, in these free accounts, the number of private protocols is limited. In addition, we have individual and institutional premium accounts that offer everything the free plan offers, plus an unlimited number of private protocols, among many other benefits. However, the point that I want to convey here is that anyone at no cost can come and publish and read an unlimited number of protocols in the open access repository. The protocols created in the platform and published in the open access repository are not just PDFs. We are talking about dynamic, interactive, and versionable documents. Let me open one of these protocols, published actually by New England Biolabs, to show you how they look like and why they are so useful. You can see this protocol on the screen. Because it is published, it has received a DOI, making it permanent and citable. The protocol itself is written in a detailed, recipe-like, step-by-step fashion, and can be enriched with tables, images, and even videos. Different sections of the protocol can be coded in different colors, creating a table of content, which I can navigate. These are interactive documents because anyone can come and post a comment or ask a question, which will be sent directly to the authors. The protocols are versionable, and I can see different versions of the protocol, and I can create my own editable copy or fork to include my own optimizations. And I will talk about this a little bit later on. The protocol is also runnable from the computer or tablet. So if I click the run button, I can follow the experiment, and as I walk through my protocol, I can mark each step as done. It comes with an integrated timer. And I even add comments to the run. In this example, for example, step 6 says that I should try a duration between 5 and 30 minutes. Let's say that in this run, I try 10 minutes. I can add that information here, post a comment, and I can save the run that will include all my comments specific to this run. To create these protocols, the platform has 3 main sections: the workspaces, the file manager, and the editor. And I will explain in the next few slides how they relate to each other by using a simple cartoon. The workspace is where everything happens. It is from this space that you create protocols, organize your work, and collaborate with others. The workspace has a folder that is organized by the file manager. In the file manager, you can use the editor to create protocols. If you go to our website at protocols.io/welcome, this is the landing page. You can create an account and log in. You can also log in using Orchid, Facebook, or Google. Once you start a session, the system will ask you to create a workspace. The system will also ask you if you want to invite someone to join this new workspace, but this is not a mandatory step. Once in the workspace, you will have access to the file manager, which is now empty because the workspace is new. On the left, you have access to the workspace administration menu. And to create a new protocol, you have to select the new button, which will take you to the editor. Now, let's do a live demo to show you how you can create your own protocols and how you can use an already existing public protocol to create your own optimizations. So I'm opening my account. Just to orient ourselves, to the left, I have the multiple workspaces to which I belong, but we are going to be working in my private workspace. This workspace has a folder that is organized by the file manager, which in this case contains many folders. I created a folder called New England Biolab Reproducibility Webinar, which is now currently empty. To create a new protocol in this folder, I select the new button, I select new protocol, I select the folder in which I want to save this new protocol, and it takes me to the editor. I start selecting a template to customize with the editor. I can add a title to my protocol, and I kind of start writing my protocol, adding steps. I finish writing my protocol, and now I can view my protocol. And you can see that the protocol has been created in my file manager. I can also search for existing protocols and use any of those public protocols as a template for further optimization. Let's say that I want to use a New England Biolab kit. I can search for the most recent protocol. And this is the one that I will be working with. So this is a public protocol, with a DOI. Therefore, I cannot make any changes. However, if I want to add a modification to this protocol, what I can do is create my own editable fork. So I select copy and fork. I'm going to make a fork of the protocol. I select the folder in which I want to save this fork. And this new copy has been created. Now let's work on editing. Remember that in this protocol, step 6 offered a range of times, but after multiple testing, I realized that the best time for me is 10. So I can add that change to this step. I'm going to add a note here. I'm going to change the title to indicate that this is my own version of the protocol. And all these changes will be automatically saved in the file manager. So you can see the new versions of the protocol, which is actually a fork from the protocol that New England Biolab created. Now I can publish any of these two protocols to receive a DOI. Let's say that I want to publish this protocol. It's very easy. I highlight the protocol, I click publish, and I have to go through a very simple 6-step workflow. So I told you about how to publish protocols, which is very easy. And each protocol that you publish will receive a citable DOI. Now, how to use a DOI in papers? The DOI of your detailed protocols can be included in the material and method sections of your papers as the authors of this paper did. The reader, by following the link, will have access to the step-by-step dynamic and interactive protocol in protocols.io. And a really nice thing about how protocols.io works is that the protocols are versionable, as I mentioned before. So if the authors have updated their protocol since the time of publication, the reader will be notified that a new version exists. And they can choose to read the protocol as it was published, which is now highlighted in gray, or by following the View the Newer Version link, have access to the updated version of that protocol. A protocol DOI can also be included in the reference list of a paper. I will point you to more training resources if you are interested. Protocols.io hosts monthly webinars covering diverse topics and given at different time zones. You can visit this URL to learn more. We also host pre-recorded tutorials and have one-to-one demos. Now, I will hand the microphone to Isabel Gautreau from New England Biolabs.
My name is Isabel Gautreau, and I'm a technical support scientist at New England Biolabs. I support next-generation sequencing applications, and I love protocols.io. There can never be enough detail in protocols, and you just don't know which small thing can make a difference in the outcome of an experiment. With protocols.io, you can easier share more complete information. NEB makes reagents for molecular biology research with passion, humility, and while being genuine, and we've been making enzymes for a very long time. In 1974, we started with EcoR1, and today we make kits for mRNA synthesis, synthetic biology, NGS, and many more different applications. Protocols today are more complex, and choices for equipment and consumables have increased too. This is Don Combs, our founder, in his lab. Doesn't this look like science is a little bit of an organized chaos? So you need anything that helps you keep things a little bit more straight. NEB has a commercial side that develops products for cutting-edge applications. We also emphasize quality, customer service, and stewardship of our earth and community. We also have a big basic research department. Sometimes their work leads to new products, but we also have a parasitology department with no commercial purpose. We're a company of scientists for scientists. So we know firsthand sharing protocols with colleagues in our own lab can be hard. And sharing protocols outside of NEB is even harder. This study illustrates the problem. 0% of protocols evaluated were completely described and required additional information to replicate. And 67% of protocols were incorrectly described and actually had to be modified to complete. What might be the problem? People use different equipment and consumables. Sometimes we have certain way we do things or habits we don't think to write down. I may not realize that something about how an experiment is done is based on what's only in my head. There's also the environment, altitude, temperature, humidity that can make a difference. Some things like the environment we cannot change. It may not be feasible to buy the same fancy machine for just one experiment. But the more you describe in your protocol, the better the chance others can do the same experiment. And if you can't do something exactly the same way, at least you know what the differences are. Writing everything down each time takes a long time, and protocols.io makes it easier because you can copy and edit your protocols, and even those others have started. Writing follow manufacturer's instructions is never enough. There are three main reasons. Will the instructions used be available in the future? Protocols or manual versions can change, and some will be taken off the internet entirely. Protocols can also give you more than one option to do something. For example, in our NGS protocols, we often have the choice to use different reagents for a step like indexing. Or you may choose different adapter dilutions or PCR cycles or size selection conditions. It would be important to specify which parameters were chosen, but it's even better to attach the protocol and better still to use a protocols.io protocol with your own details added. In the example shown here, there are different options for sample inputs greater than 50 nanograms or below 50 nanograms, so following manufacturer instructions could mean both things. Sometimes in a paper, only the reagent names are given, like Q5 polymerase here, but a company may have more than one version or product number. This can sometimes make a difference. We get many questions from customers who want to know which version of an enzyme may have been used in a paper, and unfortunately, without the product number, we also have no way of knowing. In this experiment, the authors gave both the name and the product number M0492L. There is no way to mistake which version of Q5 polymerase was used here. I like when authors point out what is critical, as was done here. It helps explain why doing something this way is so important. Other users are less likely to skip a step or do something totally different. And if they have to pivot because they can't do something exactly this way, they can find a solution that works. For example, if I'm not in the lab on day 3 or 4, maybe I could split the cells at a lower ratio than 1.8. Earlier, Gabriel talked about forking. You can use forking to make any published protocol your own. So the protocol is mostly already written for you, but you can add your own details. In this example, the protocol has 2 forks from scientists who used or published protocols as basis for theirs. When you use forking to make a protocol your own, you can add things like describing how to share your DNA. You could add notes about the specific consumables or equipment you are using. You can add your own example data to let scientists know what the sample should look like, as shown here. You can share the protocol with your lab mates who already use the same space and the same equipment. And now everyone also uses exactly the same protocol with the same notes. Customers sometimes call me about protocols from a predecessor that has left their company. The protocol may not be working for them as it did for their predecessor, and they can't ask that person. This may be due to details that have been omitted that the predecessor took for granted and didn't think to mention. For example, they may have always used a type of strip tubes and not 96 well plates, or they may have always used their favorite incubator across the hall and not the one used right here in the lab. When running a protocol from the protocols.io app, you can also add notes for each run. For example, if something happened and you were interrupted during a step, or you deviated from your usual routine, such as usually making a master mix and one day you didn't. If you run an experiment many times, you may not remember something that happened during a specific day, but this something can explain why the results for an experiment are different this time. You can share a protocol or run with me in tech support too. I can see any protocol modification you have made to our standard protocol. Sometimes they were done a long time ago, and you may not even remember having made a change. I can see the choices you have made for your experiment, and it helps us see what happened during that specific run. Is there anything that I can explain an issue? It's basically a supplement to your lab notebook. You may even be able to avoid the need for technical support entirely. It can help you do your own troubleshooting. For example, maybe for an experiment that had a bad outcome, all of those RNAs were stored in the same freezer. Or maybe a piece of equipment was down for a week and you had to use something different. So protocols.io doesn't only help you have success more often, but it also helps us get back on track quicker if something doesn't work. Thank you so much for your interest in using protocols.io. If you do and you need tech support from us, it definitely makes our life easier. We're happy to take any questions now.
So again, thank you so much for coming to this joint presentation together with Isabel Gautreau from New England Biolabs. If you have any questions at this point, you can type them either in the chat or in the Q&A window, and we will try our best to answer those queries. I'm going to stop the recording just in case anyone would like to ask a question of the record. But before I do that, there is already one question. So the question is, where are the protocols hosted and whether there is a size limit for the file manager? So the protocols are hosted in an Amazon server, but everything that is stored either privately or publicly in protocols.io is simultaneously mirrored and backed up in the Internet Archive, in Clogs, and in GitHub. So everything is backed up. And the other part of the question is whether there is a size limit for the file manager. Let me get back to that. While I research about the size limit of the file manager, let me read other questions. When you fork a protocol for someone else and make it your own, do you get another DOI? Any fork of a public protocol starts private. So if you make a fork of an existing public protocol, it becomes private. And as long as it is private, there is no DOI assigned to that private protocol. If you decide to go ahead and publish that new fork, the new fork will receive an independent DOI, but in that public protocol, there will be a link to the original protocol as well, and an indication that the protocol that you published was forked from a already public protocol. Caroline asked if there are any funding sources like NIH or NSF requiring protocols. So many funders have some data management requirement, and protocols are an integral part of data. So there is a mandate in grant applications for people to submit a data management plan, but there is no specific requirement for the use of protocols.io, just recommendation. But there is a requirement to have a data management plan, which should include protocols or methods. And Hui asks, will most, if not all, common reagents and machine be added to protocols.io database for user to select? So protocols.io has partnership with certain vendors, and they have created list of reagents and equipments in protocols.io. Others have been contributed by users. So if you are creating a protocol, you want to add a reagent that is not already in the database, you can create your own, and that will be added to the database for other users to use as well. But the list is not comprehensive. And as vendors are developing more reagents and equipment, we are catching up, but the database is not comprehensive. There is a question, sorry, going back to the limit of the file manager, we have with us Lenny Teitelman, who is one of the co-founders and president of protocols.io. And he says that there is a 10 gigabyte limit per workspace, but when a protocol is published, then that is not part of the total. So the 10 gigabyte limit is only for private protocols. And there is no limit for public sharing. And you can extra storage space for public protocols, for private protocols, extra storage space for private protocols can be purchased if needed. But the protocols are usually small and they don't use much data. And Andrea asked if you need a paid plan to create a fork from an existing protocol from New England Biolabs. No, you don't need a paid account to read, use, and make forks of existing protocols. However, as I explained before, a new fork, it's by default created privately. And there is a limit both in storage space as well as in the number of private protocols that the free accounts can host. And that's up to 2. So if you want to create multiple private forks, you might need to upgrade to a paid plan because the free accounts only can host 2 private protocols. If you decide to publish those forks, then you can keep working on the free plan as long as you keep the number of private protocols to maximum of 2. So those were the questions in the Q&A window. I think there might be some other questions in the chat. Let me see. So there is a question that says, if someone makes a change to an official NEB protocol, is it okay to publish it as a fork, even though it's not from NEB? Yes. By forking a public protocol and optimize it, you are making it your own, and it's actually not the original protocol anymore. So you can go ahead and publish your forks, but it is highly recommended that you cite the original protocol. As I mentioned before, the forked published protocol will have a link to the original protocol from which that one was forked. So recognition to NEB or any other original author will be automatically given by the platform. However, you should cite any original protocol that you are forking as well. I'm reading through the to the questions. Yeah, and I don't know if Isabel would like to add anything to forking public protocols from New England Biolab.
Yes, actually, we love when people do that. So the way we write our protocols always has the link to the original manual, and we try to put the reagents that we used in there. So that would automatically be transferred to your protocol as well. And we love when people fork our protocols and use them and share them with other people. We absolutely want you to do that.
I don't think there are more questions, but if I didn't answer correctly or you weren't satisfied with any of my responses, please let me know and I'll give it another go. As I mentioned before, I'm going to stop the recording just in case somebody wants to ask a question of the record.